Aura-Genz Podcast, yeah?
Yes,
All right, bet.
Origin Podcast. I'm gonna start with the
Aura-Genz. All
intro.
right, thanks. All right, thanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to start off with the intro, and then I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. You ready?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, but hello, last gents. This is your man over Mustang, and you're tuning into Origins, your friendly local hub podcast show. Today we got an electrifying interview lineup that's going to blow your mind. We're diving deep into the world of music, culture, and creativity. With a guest who's about to drop some serious wisdom, so get ready to vibe with us because we about to bring the heat, celebrating underground artists and the power of music. Stay tuned. It's about to get real. Well, introduce yourself.
Facts. I appreciate it, Aura and Aura-Genz Podcast. It's your boy Azkia Malik here, based out of Oakland, California. So shout out the Bay Area. Originally from Massachusetts, so shout out the whole East Coast too, but we could get into that. Yeah, excited to get into it today.
Shout out to you. And tell us about your origin story. How they all started for you.
Yeah, how far back we going, Aura?
How far you want to introduce yourself.
Okay, facts. Well, let me tell you, I've been rhyming for a while. I'll say, you know, really was inspired by some East Coast vibes back in late 2000s. First started recording and learning how to craft my songs. Shout out to Firehouse Throwback Live, the whole hard work no play entertainment. They held me down, just get me started. But learned really to write some tracks. Got into recording way back then. I actually went by the name of A to the Ski back then. So shout out all my A to the Ski fans. Some of them still show me they got my CD. They be rocking Young and Focus and a few mixtapes I put out way back then. But really, learn the craft. Although I was in Western Mass. Shout out Amherst. Shout out all Massachusetts, Boston. You already know. But man, I felt like a big fish in a small pond. I was with a crew at the time. We put together UTNG, Up to No Good Entertainment, where we were just really making music and recording. And we brought it out west. We actually moved to the Bay Area in 2010. And we were out in the Bay recording, keeping the vibes going, performing. I will say, I put the music to the side for a minute because I didn't really have the business acumen for it. I was still developing as an artist and still
Mm,
figuring out how to create a healthy lifestyle, balancing the music, professionalism, you need income, all of that. But kind of put the music to the side for a hot second, for a minute. I pursued the education in the Bay. I did study some music too. I went to City College, shout out the Rams in San Francisco. And then I got some good grades and transferred to USF. So I did the whole education thing, and music did kind of get put on the back burner for a minute. I even went to grad school out in Oakland at what used to be Mills College. Now it's Northeastern, but I studied education and educational leadership at that, and even how to incorporate hip hop in classrooms and normalize that, which really
mm,
created a whole different level of authenticity in my music. But fast forward to, about 6 months ago, and you'll see it, you'll hear it in the Love and Loyalty EP. It's definitely inspired by some life experience. But I went through a bit of a breakup and had some time to myself, was writing crazy songs. I love to travel. I've been to about 12 different countries. But I had a Thailand trip planned and I was writing songs. And if you want the real fun story, I'll tell you how I really connected with the homies music wise in Bangkok, because I recorded my whole Love and Loyalty EP in Bangkok, Thailand. But you travel somewhere, you may catch some vlogs on YouTube. Shout out to Vante Vlogs. If y'all didn't tap into that, vlogger on YouTube, check him
mm,
out. All about Bangkok, Thailand. But through that vlog, I got really tapped into and plugged into Monte, Get You a Monte. He's a producer out there in Bangkok. I saw him in the lab watching that vlog, just preparing for my trip to Thailand. And I put two and two together as I'm writing all this new music. I had more time and I sent homie a message. So don't be afraid, y'all, if you see
mm,
someone on YouTube, on IG doing their thing, hit them up. If you know what I'm saying, you're trying to get maybe closer to where they're at or just get advice, link, whatever. But I said, hey, Monte, I saw you in the lab in Thailand, in Bangkok. Where's that at? I'm actually traveling out there. I'm from Oakland, or, based in Oakland right now and coming out to Bangkok. And he said, tap into Web3 because, yeah, and he replied, by the way, shout out to Monte for replying because he could have just ignored it. But he did plug me into a whole studio and honestly, a one-stop shop for hip hop, dance, and everything. Web3 Studios in Bangkok. Shout out to Paris and all of
Shout
them.
out to him.
Yeah, but I really got tapped into that studio simultaneously while I'm writing. I was able to record a whole EP out there at the end of 2024, the start of 2025. Really, in January, I finished it and I recorded the whole thing in Bangkok. And tapped into some producers out there, ended up getting some beats from Monte. There are some other artists out there I want to work with and producers, but really got inspired by Southeast Asia and that culture. In Bangkok, they say it's the largest underground scene in the world right now for underground hip hop and EDM. So crazy music culture out there.
For real.
And there are about 17 million people in this city that's pretty large. It's a mega city. But if
Mm,
you set yourself apart or rise to the cream of the crop or just rise to the top in that very competitive space, you are a beast. So I learned from some people and just their mindset of just not giving, I don't know if I can swear in this out, not giving a fuck what no one
gotta
says
be
about your
yourself.
craft, just really being dead set on believing in yourself and your craft and going for it. And I brought that whole wave back with me when I came back to Oakland, I'm saying, after that trip. Release Love and Loyalty, that EP, April 1st. It's been about 2 months now. So folks have been vibing with it. We're getting good feedback. I'm getting good feedback on it. I'm continuing to record a lot, actually. We got a whole nice backlog of music. So I got projects to come. Water Bearer EP is something I'm trying to drop in August. We got singles along the way, and we even working on an album coming up in the future because shout out to Studio X, but I found my whole team of recording, engineering, mixing, mastering in Oakland now. So I just kept really that momentum and that creative energy and drive that I really was able to capture through my experience at Bangkok, brought that back to the Bay, and it's just been nonstop creating. So that's a little bit about my story.
Shout out to that. Congratulations. So you said you attended college. You've been moving up in the ranks with that. And you finished, right? You got your degree?
Yeah, man, I got a master's degree, so I may
Congratulations.
even teach at a college one day, again incorporating just hip hop and normalizing just the urban lifestyle, or whatever you want to call it, just in the public sector and spaces that, we need more inclusion in those spaces. So, correct.
Shout out to you. And what master you got?
Educational leadership. So, I can
Educational leadership.
teach, but really, I like to take a programmatic approach where I'm thinking about how our, in the, context of schools, how our teachers thriving, how our students thriving over the course of a year, over the course of a term or semester, our learning goals being met, our students and teacher needs being met, excuse me. So can really measure and evaluate, and I can apply that. A lot of what I learned in my professional experience and that business acumen I've obtained, I'm applying it to the music scene now, which I didn't have when I was kind of a knucklehead writing and figuring it out. But
Mm,
now we're really able to come at it through this place of more authenticity with the business acumen, with even just that belief in myself, you know what I'm saying, to even transgress some of that imposter syndrome that you have when you're in the space with really successful people. It's, well, I'm getting there. You weren't feeling my last
mm,
track, wait till you hear the next one. You weren't feeling my
mm.
performance, wait till you see the next one. Like, I'm really not tripping. But it's just up from here.
Okay. And what's some of the key things that you learn and you implemented into your music career that really helps?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you definitely got to build a team around you. I will say, when I was younger, I had a bit more of my friends just accessible. There weren't as many family responsibilities and job responsibilities. We could really just vibe, and everyone should have a lane. So if you rhyme, you can also produce, but you might want to have the producer homie. And it's cool if you like to, do some videography or photography, but if you can get really a team around you that specializes in different lanes early. So, if you're a teenager and, youngster listening to this, you could probably build that team for free around you. As you're older, it's got to the point where, you got to build more business relationships. You have different partnerships around you, but it's still a team, you know what I mean? And it's even almost elevated sometimes in that case. But build that team around you, and a trustworthy one at that, so you can really hone in on your craft and know that they got your blind spots.
Okay. And what's some key players that you found was necessary to add to your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, mentioned, when I was in Bangkok, shout out to Web3 Studio there, just having a space that is a creative space where, they actually helped me in that experience with the recording, the mixing, mastering. They did a quick photo shoot for me, and we did some promo videos. So in that case, it was really what I needed to launch my career at that stage. Now where I'm at, more long-term, more local resources, I found a studio that works for my needs here. And again, shout out to Studio X and Karina, the owner over there, Black-owned, female-owned spot, but it's in Oakland. They're a one-stop shop for all kinds of things too, but really they got the sound that's elevated my craft. So, they have the equipment for the recording, and they have really that talent for the mixing, mastering. That's really important. As a artist coming with music and mastering your sound, you want that sound tight. So that's, some of my team members there, you could say. And then on the photography side, I do have a homie. I got some. We just did a photo shoot actually by Alcatraz and Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I got some shots coming out soon. I'll share with the world, but also gonna rebrand a little bit my Spotify and all the streams and my presence. Check Azkia Malik out on, across the streaming channels, by the way, because we got some hot shit. But the photography services, my homie has been helping me with that. I'm fortunate for that. Shout out to Todd. Also, had some photography help out in Bangkok too. But videography, actually where I'm going to perform tonight, we have a show in Vallejo, California. I'm just rocking a song.
Congratulations.
Yeah, not a huge show, but it's going to be dope. I'm rocking a song, and I'm going to participate in a cypher, you know what I'm saying? So it's going to be cool there. That's at Noble Cinema Studios. That's in Vallejo, and they're actually a whole studio, and they do videography services, and we're going to shoot some videos there, getting the budget right. But that's, my videography, my photography, my recording, and then in terms of, expanding to more performances and getting some dancers involved, I need more vocalists. So actually I'm meeting with someone who may be a dope singer on some of the hooks this coming up week here.
Okay.
So, what I'm saying, I do need some more collabs. I've been tackling a lot of these tracks solo. At some point, it's nice to get some collabs. So looking for more features. But really, I have a marketing colleague as well I consult with, and she helped me really establish the Azkia Malik brand versus who I am personally, because the brand I'm capturing, I just really want it to be aligned to my target audience as I identify that, and still authentic, but understanding what my brand is, the do's or don'ts. You may want someone who specializes in marketing to even understand that concept. So just really, it's been about a few months since I dropped music, I'd say semi-professionally,
Mm,
but establishing this team around me, and it's growing. And then every time I need a video or photography or I got a new track to record, I have the go-to plug.
okay. Shout out to you. And I'm curious when it comes to like managing a team, like where do you fall? Is y'all all coming together to offer your service, or is y'all setting some type of like order, to this?
Uh, like priorities, you mean?
Like who would be responsible for the overhaul of this? Like,
At the end of the day, you could say that's me right now,
okay.
and I don't have a manager yet. A lot of folks have reached out for me to pay for management services, and it's funny because Studio X does a lot of talent development. I haven't participated a ton in that yet, but the argument is you don't need a manager, you need talent development. or artist development, excuse me.
Mm.
So just again, as I mentioned, learning some of the business acumen through my work experience, through my education, and tying that to my talent. I'm able to tackle a lot on my own. And by the way, if you're coming up and you're independent, you will have to learn to do a lot and wear all kinds of hats. A good analogy I use is if you're a homeowner, they say if you actually want to make money, you got to watch some YouTube videos, learn how to change a faucet head, or if there's a hole on the wall. If you're paying someone to do every little thing, you won't make money. You'll be broke.
Mm.
But so I'm learning a bit more video editing, all kinds of really things I used to not really touch or dabble with at all. But photos, videos, creating my own covers for singles, things like that. And what's dope is that as an artist, you have this idea in your brain, you have to communicate that with others. But the more you learn to do shit yourself, like you actually can put your brain into, whatever app you're using to create a cover for a single or anything like that. So I've actually had some success with it and surprised by what I can do. And don't be afraid to use Chat GPT. There are all these tools these days. It's not 2010. It's not even 2020. Like, it's the future.
Mm.
So use them tools.
I feel you. And when it comes to your skill set, uh, you mind giving us a list of your skill set?
Yeah, could you narrow that down a little bit?
As far as like, we know you're a bit of an artist. We see that you tapping into, I'm guessing you're making your own merch or
It's funny you asked that. So I do have some ideas for merch. I don't have that in line yet, but someone reached out
okay.
recently, say, hey, would you like to start your own clothing line? And it seems crazy, but the more I think about it, fashion is a cornerstone of the brand I'm building. I do love the expression behind it. So I'm thinking about some merch ideas. But do you mean other services I offer maybe?
Yeah, like what's your whole skill set? So I'm just
Facts.
curious, like,
Yeah, yeah.
do you produce as well? Do you play any instruments? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so I I wouldn't say I'm specialized in instruments or production, although I have made some beats. They're cool. They're not as good as my homies who actually
Hmm.
produce full time. I did grow up. I could read music, so I grew up playing the trumpet a little bit.
Okay.
I can play a little guitar. I play a little percussion. But really, I'd say I'm specialized as a songwriter, primarily for hip hop, trap, vibey trap style songs. Although I'm beginning to expand into writing more melodic R&B hooks, maybe full R&B songs, and even being a third party songwriter for others. So sometimes it just flows, and it's not always a song that is my style, but it's still a good song. So
Hmm.
definitely on the songwriting side, I'm leaning more into that. And then in terms of live performances, that's actually one of my specializations. I'd say, I'm a good artist and rapper in the studio, but the root of hip hop and what it was organically was that live performance. So uh, I'd say that's almost my stronger skill set, performing and just working with the crowd. Even if I'm opening up for a larger performer, a larger act, I can really get the crowd right for that. So tap in if y'all need bookings around the Bay Area. You want to fly me out? We lit. But performing,
Hmm.
songwriting, really just creating a creative or cultivating a creative space with others from completely different backgrounds, but we can communicate and come to this cohesive work, working with different producers, different mindsets, different skill sets, and creating, again, cohesive work is my skill set too. I'd say that's a program and project manager and me bringing all of it together.
Okay. And I'm curious about two things when it comes to your group. Are y'all working towards forming it to be a label someday, or would this be like a services that y'all offer for people? What's your goal when it comes to this platform
Yeah,
that
and
you're building?
that's a good question. It's even part of this brand development and the goals and creating a deliverable calendar lists of deliverables and such. So definitely still getting to that space. And I did lose my train of thought slightly, but anchor me back in the the
So
question because I had
I
some share.
was curious for your brand, for you and your team that you are working towards. Are y'all
Yeah,
working towards forming a label, or is this a service that y'all will offer for other people, all other entrepreneurs? What's your
yeah,
goal
yeah.
when it comes to this
So,
brand?
so still building the plane while flying it, you could say a little bit, but
Mm,
uh, in terms of me as an artist brand, it's Azkia Malik. I do still have the UTNG Up to No Good Entertainment label. I used to say informal label or team or brand that is really the umbrella that Azkia Malik falls under or lands under. And then as I'm working with other artists, and if they want to get down with what I'm building in terms of musically, they may be able to land under that, maybe able to formalize it more as a label. As I do have a nice backlog of songs, and they're only getting better and better. So I do foresee me packaging up some pitches for potential publishing deals on the songwriting side. It could be, me as Azkia Malik as an artist getting signed as well to a record label, and I would possibly be open to that, but I would prefer it to be more of that UTNG, my independent label, so I could have a lot of agency over, what we're building creatively, and
mm,
also ownership, because I know, and again, say I got signed back in the day when I didn't really have the business acumen or knowledge, I really could have got fleeced, by some of
mm.
these record labels. So uh, it's funny. I was riding in an Uber the other day, and I was on my way to a show. And I was like, "Hey, can we slap this real quick? I'm trying to get ready for the show," and just playing a show tape in the Uber. And homie's like, "Wait, you created this sound? Like, how'd you do this?" And as I mentioned, I got the team that helped me with this sound, but he was really impressed. I didn't need a label to create this sound. And, I got the
Mm.
songwriting, I got the other components that we can create this unique and really professional sound that you can play my track next to any artist now. And I'm confident in the mixing and the quality. It's really dope. So, really
That's what's
just
up.
building that reputation of, if it's coming out of, if it's a Ski and Malik track or UTNG stamp, it's going to be really highly professional. Still uh, having that bleed into, I'm looking into get more professional level videos out there. I do a lot, cap cuts and my own, starting to get a bit more TikTok presence and shoot my own footage because our phones, you can do a lot with them these days, but also just thinking about that level of professionalism across the board and all aspects of music and getting more into this music industry. That's where we're headed, but building a plane while flying it. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm excited to continue to work with people and start pitching to some, potentially get some backing from some larger organizations.
Shout out to that. And when it comes to building this brand, what is the ideal budget?
Whew.
Um, building this brand for you.
We're learning as we're going right now. So I did start to explore with a little bit of the social media advertising. Don't be afraid to explore that a little bit for the up and coming, artists, musicians, or really if you have anything you want to promote, you make your IG a business page and you put out a reel or a story because oftentimes I was told stories are cool to advertise because what are you doing if you're scrolling on a story? You're bored. So, really,
Hmm.
this day and age, it's songs are getting short, attention spans are short. So, just putting out that short form media that could attract people to your music or your page, just really build that listener base. So that's what we're working on for sure, but still figuring out as we go.
Okay. And do you have any gems for upcoming independent artists? Especially like, what's some do's and don'ts when it comes to, especially if they're getting looked or scouted by labels. What are some gems you could drop for them?
Yeah, and I'll go back to definitely build that team around you. You need that, of course. Craft your songwriting skills if that's what you do, or beat making skills, or whatever service you want to provide. Make it super dope. It again, I mentioned this. it's 2025. So think about where we at contextually today in terms of the music industry or what's in demand. So I was even schooled to this a bit when I was recording songs in Bangkok. They asked me, hey, what are your plans for all these tracks? What you finna do? It wasn't a ton. It was about 8 tracks. I turned it into a 7-track EP. But they suggested I, follow the trend of today is really putting out singles because you want this nice flow of music for your audience, but you also have to start somewhere. So I went with a nice blend and took the hybrid approach, you could say. I dropped the EP because it was my first time really putting music out in a while. It was my first time building a presence on streams. So as an up-and-coming artist, it did work in my favor for my listeners to be able to go on Spotify and see, I think I had 8 tracks in there because I just established my page with an old song. I put the EP on there, but it's nice for them to have a nice body of work to listen to for that first exposure to you. And then you might want to start rolling out some singles. So that's my approach right now. And I'm still kind of old school, so I like the projects. I like having a body of work. I don't know if people even listen to beginning to end projects these days. I might be wasting my time, but I like to have a nice flow and vibe. And then even if you put out a 10-track or a 5-track project, if they like 1 or 2 songs, that's a win for real. So just have a nice body of work, build that team around you. And also, people doubt your craft or your abilities, especially if you're creating something unique. It's new, so people aren't used to it. They may still be adjusting to what you could even contribute. And even if, say, your town or your city isn't fucking with it, guess what? It's a really big world, and you don't even need your town or city to fuck with your music for you to create a lane that you just build this massive fan base of. And I'm still working on building a massive fan base. But for example, the US is my top listening country, but behind that, Brazil, Kenya, the Philippines is actually number 2. So think about the world stage and less of just what your homies think about your music, because that may discourage you from creating too.
And what platform do you use to release your music on?
So I use DistroKid. It
Yeah,
distribute. You can select what you want or you don't want your music to be sent out to. And I will say as well, you could submit your music through DistroKid, but if no one hears it, it's hard to create a fan base at all. So as I mentioned, you definitely advertise a bit on the socials. IG is good for throwing a few bucks at an ad, a reel, or a story. But also I pitch my tracks, and this was again that team around you. They give you good ideas. So when I met with the marketing individual, my colleague, and that consultation there, she suggested, your music's good enough. You could pitch it to some of these playlist curators, and there are a few different platforms that you could pitch your music to, but Submit Hub is one that I use. And really, if you feel strong about your music, go on Submit Hub, find some playlists that, the playlists say what they're looking for. So if it's more pop rap or more, lo-fi, just instrumentals, there's something that probably matches your lane, and then pitch your music. It's really not that much. You pay a few bucks to pitch your tracks to the curators, and then if they like your music, they'll put you on their playlist. And some of these playlists have 300,000 listeners, and you could wake up in the morning and have 100,000 plays. You never know if you get added to some of these playlists to grow your brand. But yeah, DistroKid is cool, but you also have to pitch outside of that. But then your music is on Spotify in the first place to be able to get on some of these playlists. So that's helped a
that's
lot.
what's up. And is this the organic listeners, or will you happen to know that?
Yeah, so I mentioned lo-fi because that's really a popular one, and they have all kinds of different playlists for study, chill, or hip hop, whatever it may be. That's a really popular, you know, you could say playlist category, the lo-fi and everything they're curating, but they are real people behind those playlists. So they're putting out music to real people. You're not paying for bots. I honestly would not suggest you pay for bots on social media because that can really mess up your algorithm. And again, think about the current modern day we're in right now with the music industry. It is about AI and tapping into algorithms. So whatever you can do to show that you're being added to, as you mentioned, or organic playlist where they're real people putting songs together, they have real following in terms of listeners, and now you're added to this. And when you pitch your tracks to these curators, they're signing off on it, meeting that bar of the playlist, and you'll be on that playlist with all kinds of, the tier A or A-list celebrities, you could say. So it's cool to be added onto those, and you can really get some eyes on your music depending on which playlist you get added to. Some have a smaller following, but don't sleep on those either because you get added to playlist, and then on Spotify you can see checking your stats and data every day. Someone that finds you on that playlist, they may share your music with a buddy, and that spreads out into 4 playlist ads. And sometimes I'm added to 40 playlists every day. I'm like, oh, all right, they're fucking with me. So just being heard and pitching to the right people.
That's what's up. Shout out to that. Okay. Um, let me see. Uh, I did have another question before we had a break, but I'm trying to remember at this moment. Um, okay. I'll go with this question. I'm curious. Before we hit the break, my final question before we hit the break. Um, what is a fun fact about you?
Fun fact about me. Good one. I'd say fun fact about me.
You like Pop Tart with blue cheese?
I am a chicken wing connoisseur. So if y'all have suggestions, spots in Oakland I gotta try, or sauces in the grocery store, I fuck up. I'm primarily like spicy, savory, but I may rock with some barbecue, something like that. But I prefer, it's controversial, but I prefer blue cheese instead of ranch with my wings. But definitely a chicken wing connoisseur. And I'm also, I don't know if y'all are love or hate this, but being from New England, I'm a big Patriots fan. I love football. My chicken wings, my football Sundays, it's lit.
Shout out to that. Yeah, I happen to notice that you a big sports fan. Um, so football is like one of your top favorite sports.
Yeah, I'd say it's my top. It's my top.
So what is your top three sports?
I'll say football, and playing wise, baseball would be two. Watching wise, basketball would be two. Um, but playing wise, football, baseball, basketball. You know what? I'm gonna rephrase that because I've been hooping more. I'm gonna say football, basketball, baseball.
Okay. Have you
Yeah,
seen that they trying to change up baseball? They got like a baseball league where they dance and stuff and shit.
I haven't seen that, but they've been trying stuff out with they got the pitching clock and they're trying to speed up the game. And
Mm.
unfortunately, Oakland, we lost our A's, but shout out the Giants. I still catch a game here and there, especially I'm a Red Sox fan, so when the Sox come into town, I'll hit up the Giants stadium over there. But uh, yeah, still go catch some games once in a while.
Okay. Coming to the halfway mark, I have some talents that I can promote to you. The first one that I would like to shout out, Gifted Cuddle. Uh, Not only he's an artist, but he's also a black author creating his own comic book slash manga called One Nation. So if you like to get connected with somebody within that field, I can send you their information after the show.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. Shout out to Tierra, aka Lady Poet. She's creating her own services where she offered to create merch for other people. So if you're looking for somebody to create merch around t-shirts and stuff like that, I have somebody that I could recommend for you.
Definitely need both of those, so they could be
Okay.
additional assets to the team for sure. Definitely send that info.
Okay. The third one that I have for you, shout out to Jeremy. He's starting up a TV series. Well, not TV series. he started up his own series where people get to perform at small establishments such as restaurant, bars, etc., where people could perform their craft in front of a small crowd. Right now, he's located in North Carolina, but I know he's working on expanding. But if you'd like to stay update or get connected with him, I can send you this information after the show.
Yeah, shout out North Carolina. I got family out in Virginia, so not too far. Sometimes I'll be pulling up to
Okay.
the south too, so maybe we could tap in.
Okay. One more person I have for you. Shout out to Kingsman Squash Disaster. He's a folk artist, but he's also starting up his own podcast called Sound Sandwich Podcast. It's similar to this podcast, but you sit down with a fellow artist, break down each other's songs, chat it up. If that's something that you seem interested, I can send you his link as well.
Send me all the links. Yeah, all the exposure and just getting my narrative out a bit, sharing a bit about my background. It's good for my brand. Hopefully I could, expand exposure and get the word out about the various podcasts too. So down.
Okay. I'm glad that you got that energy, because I do have one more thing to offer you.
Okay.
We recently started our own music label where we create soundtracks for artists to hop on around like various themes and challenges. And our first soundtrack is mixing horror with Valentine's. So a bit of romance and thriller. So if you're looking for an opportunity to test your pen with fellow artists or etc. or to conquer our beats, I can see more information after the show.
Yeah, send me the info. I'll always, I try to stay just really curious. You know what I mean? Like not closing my doors to, even if it sounds wacky and out there. Uh, it really expands how I can be inspired creatively. So I'll check it out.
Okay, shout out to you. And to give you the floor, those that would be tuning into your EP, they get to hear it directly from you when it comes to talents or people that you're looking to network with. Who are you looking to expand to?
Yeah, so definitely looking for features potentially on some tracks to come. So uh, whether you want a feature and you maybe want a Azkia Malik feature on your track, hit me up. If you want potentially, I don't want to call it ghost writing because it has a bad connotation, but even help songwriting, R&B or hip hop for a hook or verses or a full song, holla at me about that. Or even on my track, if you're putting out heat and it's fire and I want to feature you on my next EP, we could tap in about that. And then definitely the merch and graphic design. So I have a homie who's helped me right now with a new logo and don't want to spill too much game or sauce, but he said, "Hey, where should what do you have in mind?" And I kind of gave him like the Daft Punk logo, like, "Hey, give me something that kind of looks saucy, 2D." So keep an eye out for that Ski and League logo. But I'm always looking to work with different graphic designers, UX designers. I want this just constant flow of new visuals and videos that really works in concert with my music because these days folks are really visual, so it can't just be a hot track. It got to be the whole person and media. So anyone that has ideas and wants to tap in, you can reach out to me on my socials at Azkia Malik or also my email, you know what I mean, Azkia Malik 510 at Gmail, Azkia Malik Management, that's Azkia Malik MGMT at gmail.com too, for booking or just want to work.
Shout out to you. Okay. Let me see. So you're looking for those that's gonna help you to expose further within entertainment. Okay. And that's your main focus?
Is really right now I have good backlog of music and the masters are coming my way. I'm really excited about it. We're packaging up singles, projects, and just working with folks who could really help me, yeah, on the visual side of things and the business side of things too. Just getting it heard and on that worldwide platform as well. So thinking globally.
Okay.
So if anyone's tuning in from a different country, anything like that, let's work because I'm thinking big.
Okay. And when it comes to this new logo, I know you didn't want to spill too much, but I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
curious, where would we see this logo appear? Are we talking about merch? Would it be like a logo for like how you would introduce your music video? Where will this
Yeah,
logo appear?
merch, it could have presence digitally as well. Uh, Definitely on merch though. I have some good
Okay.
ideas. So, just learning from folks who have been successful with merch and what that looked like, and it's typically some affiliation with the artist, and it's clear, and your fans, they wear it with pride. So, or even just the listeners. And in Oakland, you know what I mean? If I got some folks walking around with my gear, like that's a good look. So we get in there, and the logo's gonna help.
And do you have an idea of your lineup for merch? Will you be offering like shirts and hoodies and stuff like that? Or would it
Yeah,
be
I'm
more,
thinking. So as I mentioned, I really want to be high quality across the board, everything I offer with my brand. I'm thinking hoodies, but really nice, woven in brands, not just cheap throwaway, wear it once, it's done. Nicer
mm,
hoodies that may cost you a bit up front, but it'll last forever type shit. Uh, Shirts,
understandable?
hoodies, and then hats would be cool. Yep. Maybe
Okay.
snapbacks, maybe some
And
bucket hats.
which season of the year will you focus on?
Good question. So, I got to think outside of my own box. So I'm in California, so it's all, the Bay. The Bay's really this fall climate all year round. But I do got to think, where it's a little hotter or colder. But I will say what's cool about the Bay, it's comfortable enough where it's kind of like fall all year round. So you can still rock a hoodie. You know what I mean? You could wear the hat, the tee. So really, I'm going to start with hoodies, hats, tees, and stickers, and then we'll see where we expand from there.
What's the hottest to get down there?
The hottest, I have seen it hit 100 or something like that, but that's like
Okay.
very, very rare. It's consistently upper 60s, low 70s. So almost like
Okay.
Hawaii for real, just like consistent. And I want to
Okay.
say for the merch as well, looking into getting the female attire too, or I'll have it be unisex, but I'll have some for the ladies. I'll have some for the gents too.
The Jets.
The
So,
gents.
okay. All right. I'm fucking with that. That's what's up. And bringing this back to your music, checking out your music. I check out the EP. I check out two singles.
Bet.
Uh,
Appreciate that.
hold on. Where's my phone? There it is. Give me a second. Yeah, the two singles I checked out was one Tsunami and then Beam Up.
Let's get it.
So checking out your music, I do agree with your statement earlier. Well, no, you was mentioning that you was tapping in more into melodic sound and like hooks and stuff. So
Hmm.
ironically, just being a first time listener, I think that's like one of your strongest points of
Okay.
listening to your music was the melodic and like the hooks that you have for some of your songs. Um, but I think the rest like build character. So I could definitely tell. Well, from the way I experienced the EP, it seemed like
Hmm.
something that you're trying and you're gonna like build upon that. So I'm just
Hmm.
curious to see like you know how your sound evolve and change. So I'm curious how you're gonna build upon this. But outside of that, I think your strongest suit is the melodic part and the hooks.
Mm.
Being a first time listener. I would
Got
say the
you.
song that stand out to me the most, I think it's between I Gotta Eat, Curve, and Tsunami. Those are the three songs that stand out to me, being a first time listener.
Fact. Yeah, and your question is how my sound is going to continue to evolve.
Yeah, I am curious, what's your plans on like involving your sound and what do you particularly find your strongest suit as an artist?
Yeah, I bet. So what's cool is that EP is the first time I did really, first time I was back in the studio for a hot minute. Over 5 years, really knocking some of the dust off. I worked with some cool producers on that project. Uh, but what evolved from that project is stronger ties with producers. So I was able to get, some exclusive licensing, some unlimited licensing. I have producers from all over. Continue to work with Monte. He gave me a beat package from, he's based out of Bangkok, but he is from the States. Shout out to Get You a Monte. He's worked with some names. I just got a little beat pack from Batman, based out of Brooklyn. Working with a few other folks, one producer based out of Germany. So continue to diversify the sound with the different producers from all over the world. Elevating the sound with just the studio I'm working at now. It is a bit more professional quality with the preamps and the mixing and the microphone. It's really industry standard stuff, The studio I go to, the engineer who mixes and masters my work, she works with Mr. Fab, you feel me? So I'm working with the same resources that folks in the Bay are tapping into who are professional musicians. And then in terms of my own sound, I knocked that dust off. I knocked that rust off. So, by all means, Love and Loyalty EP, I'm really happy with how that came out. But it's really just the start in terms of being creative. I am a diverse artist, I'd say. So some of my tracks, I got some of the music to come. You'll see I got some love songs. I got some sexy trap songs for the lady type shit. I do have some more East Coast vibes, tapping into the boom bap energy slightly. Definitely some club bangers or just some chill bangers. But yeah, my strong suit is really, I'd say my sound's unique. I'm inspired certainly by the Lil Waynes, the J. Coles. Definitely grew up listening to Big Pop, Jay-Z. One inspiration that folks won't maybe guess off bat, but I really fuck with Lloyd Banks too, just his style of writing rhymes, hard, a few punches. But I also think my strength lies just in holistic songwriting, the analogies, talking about different things. I definitely talk about the sexy ladies out there in the party scene, but I can also get real. And, I have this track dropping. I got a big one dropping Friday the 13th, Turn Up On Me. That is more of a club banger, but really my goal is to have tracks dropping really every 2 weeks or so. And at the end of June, I have this joint called Black Man dropping, and that's actually almost really a song that reflects the Black Lives Matter energy, but just, talking about some police brutality, getting real there. So I'm going to continue to get creative, but also take risks and grow as an artist, but also have the right team around me to elevate the overall feel of the music. And I have received some feedbacks, take a few more risks in the studio. So I'm definitely going to do that. And also, I have this consistent flow, but it's okay to switch it up here and there, where my flow will be one way for the first verse and similar and cohesive, but also just have some hook, almost bridges could be hooks, and the hook doesn't just have to be the hook. There can be hooks baked into the verses. So getting some advice, even from the curators, the folks who say, hey, thank you for submitting to my playlist. Here, XYZ, like the song's dope. Clearly you're taking music seriously, but XYZ is here how, it can improve for your next track if we're to consider adding that to our playlist. And I'm taking that into consideration. So I'm going to keep it authentic to me, but also the constructive feedback, I take that into consideration, and I'm applying that to my new music. So hopefully, listeners enjoy it.
Shout out to that.
Yeah.
And you got some experience with live performance, correct?
Yeah, for
You
sure.
mind telling us a bit about that?
Yeah, even with my earlier music back in late 2000s, early 2010s, I don't want to date myself too much, but it's crazy because you get on stage, you get that microphone, and you may have some butterflies before that, but any true artist, performer, once that mic is in your hand, you just kind of go to this creative space, you get in your flow where time doesn't matter, whoever's watching doesn't matter, and I don't feel really nervous up there at all. So I step on stage and I've learned to just really be myself, get the crowd hype, maintain my breathing control. It's nice to have a hype man here and there, but get the show tapes right just so it's a really nice presentation for the listeners, but also for me as a performer, I enjoy the experience. So I really love performing and continue to master that craft. But really make sure you have that mic right. Do the sound check before the show if possible. Hopefully there's a good PA system and a sound man or woman that's really going to help you. But it's also about practicing in the house in your PJs or whatever, just put that beat on. Some tracks, it's okay to not have, any vocals on there at all. Just have it be the beat. Not every track you can really do that for, especially if you don't have a hype man. But don't be afraid to just rap over the raw beat. Listeners really like that too.
Okay. There's two things I'm curious about when it comes to your performance opening for a bigger artist. What was some of your favorite openings? And um, what was the second one that I was curious about? Uh, we're gonna go for it with that one right now. I don't remember my second question.
Yeah, trying to think. It was honestly back in the East Coast back in the day, but I opened up for Sean P one time. That was cool. And then it was an adjacent show, but KRS-One made a presence back in the day again, East Coast. I didn't formally open for him, but was involved with the showcasing of Sean P. RIP for real. I don't think he's with us no more, but KRS-One, Sean P. That was East Coast. And out here, really it's just, I dropped that EP April 1st. So it's just been about 2 months of me really getting this music out and having enough content to perform and getting serious again. So I have a few event promoters I'm tapped in with. Today, as I mentioned, I'm doing a show at Noble Cinema in studios out in Vallejo. Juneteenth, I'm at the Boom Boom Room. That's in San Francisco. That's going to be a dope showcase, just celebrating emancipation of slaves and, the communication, getting the last folks who didn't know they were freed already, but a special day to perform. And then, yeah, we got the booking channels open. We are also, well, I'll say in December, taking a trip back to Southeast Asia and got a mini tour working it on in the works too. So I have 2 shows we're putting together in the Philippines. And then anyone listening from Thailand, from Bangkok, look for at least to do two shows in Bangkok as well. So putting together my EPK packet, my press kit, so folks can see what I'm going to bring to the table as a performer. To my artists coming up as well, make sure you have those EPK and those press kits right as well, so you can pitch to promoters. But in December, I'm putting together some shows back out in Southeast Asia, so I'll be back out there for a month. I'm doing some joints. And the last time I was in Bangkok, as I mentioned, I was recording and I put together Love and Loyalty EP. This time it's really going to be performing and content creation because it's really amazing setting and scene. It's really inspiring creatively. And I'll also put a piece of game on the table. If you do travel somewhere foreign and you do your photography or recording, whatever it may be, it's way cheaper than the States. So you might fuck around and pay for your trip just by getting your work done on a trip and not in the States. So free game.
Yeah. Okay. All right, shout out to that. And when it comes to let me see, uh, oh, I know I was curious about. When it comes to, do you have any particular rituals or practice you would put in before getting ready for a live performance?
Yeah, I do actually. So I I also like to stay pretty athletic, but even today, I went on a nice run this morning. It just opens up your blood flow, helps your mind just think clearly and such. But I like to, even recording or the day I got a performance, I would get some exercise in the morning. Definitely eat right. You don't want to eat a ton of greasy food right before a show, or that hot Indian meal may not be the move. But just, be physical, eat right. Also, a nice prayer with your team before you go on stage is nice because at the end of the day, It's up to the Most High. There's only so much we could do, but just asking for that guidance and just the blessing as well right before you rock on stage. But stretch, get that movement right, and you're breathing right. Believe in yourself too. Just look in the mirror and tell yourself you are this shit, because you are.
Shout out to that. And when it comes to your EP, what is your top three songs out of that EP?
Okay, and I'll try to be objective and not just talk numbers, but the the biggest song data wise is Vibes Right. That's been the hottest one, and I'd say that's definitely up there with my favorite. But yeah, Vibes Right. We'll just say that's it. That's really the single that emerged. I really like Amusement Park as well. I'll say that's two.
Okay.
I like them all. It's hard to say, but Amusement Park and then Curve. We'll put number three.
Okay. So there was what was that first one?
Vibes Right.
Vibe,
Yeah, and that
Vibes
really has
Right.
emerged as a single on that EP.
Okay. And then it was amusement park and then Curve.
That's right.
Okay. And do you have any plans of shooting a music video for any of these singles?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for Vibes Right, I did just get a bit more licensing for that beat because the song was performing well. I was like, let me make sure I own the rights to this thing or as much as I can. So I did get that established, and now thinking about doing a music video for that, and not just a cap cut, but a real video. So yeah, look out for that show for Vibes Right. And then yeah, I think that Vibes Right is going to be the main one. I'm going to do a formal, just professional style video.
Okay. Shout out to that. And let me see. My last question. How you go about testing out your music?
I I got some homies, day ones. We grew up, similar music taste. But I do have a few homies and family members that I'll send in my tracks, you know, ask what they think for feedback. Also, just give them tracks to listen to. But it's nice to get feedback like that. Also, open mics and shows are a really good way to get objective feedback from people who don't know you and who are unbiased. So tonight, I'm actually playing a track, Turn Up On Me, that's dropping Friday the 13th next month. So it's not even out yet. But I envision how it may, be received in a club or a show setting, but we'll see how it's received. I played the song once. It was for a smaller crowd, but hopefully it's a nice crowd and I get test Turn Up On Me on that crowd to see if cats actually turn up. You feel me? But yeah, really just ask for homies and family members their advice on it. Also in the studio, the engineer just working with them on the pre-mix and just getting advice. Certain tracks definitely land a bit more with even the people I'm making the tracks with, so that's encouraging. But also I have some folks that I just, they're also artists in rhyme and they're making music of their own. So we'll just bounce our tracks off each other, and the car is always the source of truth if it's a slap. So definitely slide in your neighborhood, wherever in your city, and see if it's a
Mm-hmm.
slap. If it don't slap in the car, you gotta figure something else out.
Shout out to you. It was great to have you on as the special guest. Appreciate you coming over here sharing your story. Before you go, shout out all your platforms. Shout out anybody that you want to put on, and then drop a song out of your catalog you want the audience to tune into.
Okay, bet. So it's your boy Azkia Malik. It's with a Z. So you can find me on IG, Askia_Malik. You can find me on YouTube at Askia Malik TV. That's my YouTube channel. We're building up there. You can find me at Apple Music, really all the platforms, all the streaming services. So tap in there. IG, and we're recently, I'm getting some motion on TikTok, lightweight, just been going for like a month now, but IG and TikTok are pretty active, and then YouTube as well. Spotify, of course, for the actual streaming and dropping the music. So find me on Spotify. Just again, Azkia Malik, Azkia with a Z. And then, we got that big single, Friday the 13th, Turn Up On Me. That shit is gonna be dummy. So that's with Get You Amante as a producer. It's my first release from that producer who's been in the game for a minute, been doing some cool things musically. So check out for that Turn Up On Me single, and honestly a wave to come out starting next month of some music that I think is my best work. So it's only getting better from here. Tap in with me on streams. I'll try to post, especially folks who are local in the Bay, Northern Cali, where I'm playing around here, but I may be coming to your hood too. So I'm gonna
Okay.
make sure I can post more and have that visible where my bookings and shows are coming up.
Shout out to you. It was
And
great to
yeah,
have you on this podcast.
facts I mentioned before, but for bookings, or if you got a service you think you could add to the team or add value to my team, Azkia Malik Management, Azkia Malik MGMT at gmail.com, or Azkia Malik 510 at gmail.com. That's a good email. Tap in there too.
Okay, but definitely shout out to you.